What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Nick Williams Show. My name's Nick Williams. I'm an independent filmmaker and producer north of Boston. And today, joining me on the show is a dear friend and an amazing talent. And honestly, I think I've only had like 5 actors on the show so far. Everybody else has been like behind the scenes kind of person. Savino LaQuale, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Nick Williams.
I want to talk about acting. I want to talk about what it's like to be, because you have an interesting story. You didn't go to college for acting,
No, I didn't.
and you weren't acting when you were a kid and then grow up into movies and stuff like that. You started a little bit later.
A lot later, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pull the mic in nice and close.
Okay.
There you go.
How's that? Is that
That's
good?
perfect.
Okay.
Okay. So, who are you?
Who am I? My name's Savino LaQuale. I am an actor. Yes, I'm from Providence, Rhode Island. Born and raised there all my life. Got into acting later in life, and
Are you first generation American?
I am first generation. Yes. Yeah,
That's
my
cool.
mom and dad were both born in Italy.
Yeah. When they come over here?
They came here separately. So my dad around the late 50s.
Okay.
Yeah, they met in Rhode Island.
Hmm.
And, they both came from different parts of Italy. My mom is from a small town just outside of Rome. Uh, it's called Castelnuovo Parano, which is a very tiny little town. I was just there in September.
Mm.
Um,
Rough life. Huh? You go to
yeah. And my dad is from Foggia,
Mm.
Puglia. So,
Italy is beautiful.
mm,
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Okay, so you come here, child of immigrants. I'm assuming that's you were telling me on the phone recently. We talk all the time, but you were saying how uh, that's any immigrant family from any place on earth when they come here. It's like I'm assuming get a job, be a doctor, be a lawyer, do something that's gonna
or trade.
a trade, yeah, something like that. Acting not it's not really top on the
Oh,
list,
no, no,
right?
no.
Okay, makes sense.
For me, that was something that, um really, I didn't have a pathway to
Right.
the acting world, especially back when I graduated high school was in late '80s, well, middle '80s, I should say, and just didn't know what direction to go. I actually did a play in high school,
Mm.
so I had an idea of how it felt to be on stage. Not a big role, but it was on stage, and I kind of maybe caught a little bit of the bug then, but then life gets in the way.
Yeah. So one thing that I do with this show, um, and I'm gonna tie it into this, is I'm a big advocate. Just a couple of weeks ago, I've told the story a million times, but I had a kid on who went and spent all the money on film school. He made a film, and I was telling you this on the phone. He got rejected from everywhere, and he was going to give up on filmmaking after spending all that money on college for filmmaking. Puts it on YouTube and gets a great response. And so, one of the things that I like to preach to the viewers, the 7 viewers we have. I'm just kidding. One of the things that I like to preach to the viewers, though, is you really have to not obviously listen to your parents and stuff, but you have to like keep the the crap out of your head. Stay out of the huddle. And if you want to do something, you got to just go do it. And you know me, I'm big on like, if I tell you, oh, I'm going to take over the world, then I'm going to take over the
Oh,
world.
oh, I know that.
You
Yeah.
know, so like nobody gets in my way. And
No.
if you do, I just bulldoze right over you, keep
Oh,
going
I've been
forward.
on set with you. I know.
Yeah, we can talk about it, that's fine. Yeah, that's great. So it's inspiring to see because now you're in SAG, right?
I am. I'm SAG actor. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So to go from not acting at all,
Mhm.
and again, I don't want to stress, I don't want to make it look like I'm speaking negatively about your parents. Um, but like you said, there was no pathway. It's just not the first thing that comes to mind when it's
Correct.
like work hard, get a job, make money, and be successful. Being an actor isn't the first thing that immigrants who come to this country with not a lot. They don't think that's the pathway to
No, not at
success.
all. Not at all.
So it's not like they were stifling you, but they were just directing you in a different direction,
Correct.
if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
correct.
So what besides the play that you did in high school, what was the thing that got you into it later in life? How old were you? What was the situation? What was that
Sure.
like?
Yeah. So it had to do with the career I was in. I'm still in, which is the professional beauty industry.
Mhm.
My job changed a bit. It went from being in the sales part of it, uh, basically I was in on the sales force, and it changed into what I call now uh, more of presentations, and I was emceeing some events,
Interesting.
and I call it edutainment. I was doing a little education, a little entertainment at the
Okay.
same time. So, with that being said, I wanted to get better at that. I would see people that were presenting in front of me, and I said, "Oh, that's the way. If I'm going to do it, I want to get better at presenting." So there was a gentleman that suggested to me to take a Toastmasters.
Toastmasters is cool. My
Yeah,
dad did Toastmasters,
he
I was
did.
telling you.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
I joined Toastmasters, and Toastmasters really helped me out uh, to become a better public speaker. Also, what Toastmasters does is it has a competition each year. It's a
Mm.
speech contest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I decided, crazy me, I said, maybe I'll try a speech contest. And I actually did the speech contest, and I won my what they call is basically a club. I won the club contest, and that brings you to the regionals, and then from there it goes to districts or whatever. I'm not sure exactly which way it goes, but I had a mentor
Yeah.
that helped me out there, and he was an actor. And he said to me, "You know what, Savino? I really think you should take an acting class. I think it'll help you with your stage presence, with the blocking." And I said, "Okay, maybe I'll do that." And
Mm.
I took a class at the GAM Theater. I think it was 2017, and that was it. Got the bug. The GAM Theater in Pawtucket. It was in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Now it's in Warwick, Rhode Island. So I
That's cool.
took theater class. So education is important when it comes to acting. You need to learn that skill.
Sure.
So you
Oh,
just
I could yeah. Yeah, I could talk about that kind of stuff.
so that's it. That kind of got me into the acting world.
Right. That's cool. How long ago was that?
It's 2017, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. 2017. Interesting. That's great. And so how has it been so far since you've been in the acting world? It's not easy. Like, let's be
No,
honest here. You
no,
don't
no,
just walk in and you become Leo DiCaprio. Like, there's a
no.
lot of.
And trust me, it's not where that's celebrity. That's a whole different world.
Sure.
I'm a local actor. I'm a New England actor. I work with a lot of New England projects like we did together.
Yep.
Um, Trying to break into a little bit of the New York thing. We could get into that too. That's a whole different world too, from the independent into the, let's call it the Dick Wolf world, which is the Law and Orders and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Cable.
So I'm trying to, with that you need an agent and all that stuff. So it's a process. It's not easy, and I mean I'm not making a living, being an actor, but I'm having a great time, and I'm meeting great people like yourself, great actors, and it's it's brought me places that I could never believe I'd be. Like last week, for instance. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to go to Los Angeles for
Yeah,
a big
tell me,
event.
can you talk about that? I mean, the
Yeah,
festival's over now, right? You could talk about this stuff.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
So it was a Russo brothers.
It is each year the Russo brothers and the Italian American
Can you
Film Forum.
real quick, I don't mean to cut you off. Can you explain who the Russo brothers are for people who don't know?
Sure, the Russo brothers are they are filmmakers. They're Italian American filmmakers that I guess everybody would probably know the Avengers and that whole world.
Yeah.
That's who they produce and they direct those movies.
Yeah.
So they have this event every year that they put out for Italian American filmmakers. It's called the Italian American Filmmaker Forum,
Okay.
and they give a grant to five filmmakers, aspiring filmmakers that have an idea or a concept of a film that has the Italian American culture, has to have a little bit of the Italian. You don't have to be Italian American to actually make a film, and I
Mhm.
think you are Italian
I'm
American.
Sicilian, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know you have. um, but
Just to clarify.
just to clarify that, yeah, you don't have to be an Italian American to
And
make a film.
Neapolitan, there's a little Naples in
You
there
got
too. A little, just a
just a
dash.
little dash of
Yeah.
Neapol Napolitan. So sure.
That's the, aggression. It's just a little dash of Naples, yeah.
Sure, sure. But, that being said, they had about 750 applicants this year that
Wow.
submitted their pitch deck and along with their idea for a film,
Mhm.
and director Joe Bacozzi, who is a USC graduate, but originally from Rhode Island,
Mm.
was one of the finalists.
Nice Irish guy.
Nice
Yeah.
Irish guy, yeah,
Yeah.
young filmmaker, yeah, nice young filmmaker.
Yeah, yeah.
And, he, um, he had this idea for a film. They liked the idea, so they gave them. I'm not sure how much money he got from, but there is some money that they do give as
A
a grant.
grant, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it was, and
But they liked his idea, they gave him the money.
yes, and he cast me as Uncle Mike, which was the main character's uncle. That the I don't know if I guess I could talk about the movie, the concept of the movie.
Yeah,
It's
tagline.
called My Kind of People by director Joe Picozzi, written by Joe Picozzi, and it's about a young paisano, I guess that's how they describe it, who born and raised in an Italian family, and after a DNA test, he comes to the realization that he's not Italian at all.
Yep.
So that kind of he deals with that not being Italian, dealing with his family issues, like, well, what who is my family?
Mm.
So it was an interesting. It's a comedy,
Yeah.
dramedy, I would say, but it really was really fun working on it. And the by being a finalist, we were invited to LA at the Russo brothers Agbo Studios,
Mm.
and we won. Film won,
There you
so that
go.
was pretty cool. So,
That is cool.
mm,
It's gotta be a good feeling, and I think it's nice too that the listen, part of the reason so RJ, who you were in his film, you auditioned for one of my films as well.
I did, yes.
But RJ Carreri, who's on the Movie Mob with me on Fridays, 6 p.m. Subscribe, you should watch him.
RJ is the man.
RJ is the man. He did a mob movie, and so did I. And one of the cool things about one of my biggest inspirations to get into filmmaking and stuff is like Francis Ford Coppola and Martin Scorsese and stuff like that. And there's just this attraction to uh, the mob and all this other stuff. But I find it very nice. It's a refreshing thing to not have to have an Italian American making a movie about Italian American culture without it having anything to do with being a gangster or the mafia or anything like that. Because you assume, especially if you're just a regular person out there in the world, right? If you hear it's a movie about Italian Americans, there's this stereotype that everything is mafia related, and I think there's a little bit of squeaky wheel syndrome. That's what I call it anyway,
Okay.
where the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So when are take anything any stereotype, right? The loudest or the most disruptive or the people that get the news story are the criminals or the people that are doing something outlandish. And you see this in all factions. It's not just Italian. It's everywhere in life. When you turn on the news, you see that it's this type of person is getting all the attention, and then people just assume that everybody who looks or is from that background is like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
So for the longest time, anytime you see the Italians on the news, they were getting arrested,
Yeah.
like that with John Gotti, everybody else. But there's a whole culture of people and stuff. I find it very interesting. I have a friend of mine who's uh, born overseas, and he was telling me how they don't have a lot of it's a different culture in Italy versus Italian American.
Oh, yes.
But Italian American is really its own like subculture because you're here, right? But you have a whole different it's a whole different dynamic, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So like it's very very interesting. Yeah, my family there's a lot of us from Gloucester and my aunt, she came over here, her parents and her whole town came over here from Sicily a long time ago and they were all fishermen. So there's like a whole fishing community that's all like Sicilian, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nothing to do with the mafia.
No,
It's like it's
no.
all, so like yes, there's that section of interesting stories,
Right,
but then there's also like this whole country of people that have their own stories and their own culture and their own everything. So it's
right.
very interesting
Yeah. I mean,
to have to deal with that or to have that type of story,
uh,
you know?
my family, my dad was one of seven, my mom was one of seven.
Mm,
And my dad's family, three of the brothers actually stayed back in Italy. They did not immigrate. So I still have first cousins that are there, but majority, my uncles were, landscaper. They had landscaping companies. They started out just, like
working.
working, but then they became very successful in landscaping construction companies. My dad and my two of my other uncles were both barbers, and my dad He's still with me. God bless him. He's 87 years old. My mom's 83.
Nice.
My brother owns the barbershop now, and he my dad will still go over into the barbershop and still give him orders. You know how that goes.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're hardworking people. They were just hardworking
that's
people.
cool.
So but that's I know what you're saying about the stereotype.
You
You
know?
know,
Well,
but
yeah, no, I'm saying
yeah,
it's nice that it's not the stereotype.
no,
Like, that's a cool thing to be a
yeah.
part of a film that's
That's why I like a movie like Moonstruck, right? I
yeah.
don't know if,
Yeah,
it might be a little old for your audience, but
there's another movie out there, there's a similar tagline called Everybody Wants to Be Italian, it's a comedy,
yes,
and
yeah.
it's a similar thing, it's a Polish guy who is trying to get with, he's trying to date or marry this Italian girl, and he works in I think it's in Boston, but it might be in New York, I'm not sure, and, he's not Italian, but he works with all Italian people, they're teaching him how to be Italian,
Is
so
it do they own a fish market or something?
something like
Yeah,
that,
I've
yeah,
seen
yeah,
it,
yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
it, yeah.
so
It
funny.
is in Boston, it's set in Boston.
Okay, there you
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
and they're, like, teaching him how to be Italian so he can win this girl over. That's so funny to me.
Yeah,
It's so funny. Like, I love stuff like that,
yeah.
you know? And, I don't know, it's a cool this is a very, very interesting industry, to be in. Now, having said all of that, the first movie that you and I worked on was a mafia
Was a
movie.
mob movie.
There it is, and you played it was RJ's film, he wrote and directed it for, Emerson University. Great movie. I thought it came out very well. I'm biased, though, a little bit.
Mm,
Um and you played, Frank Castellano, the
yeah.
head honcho, big boy.
Cadillac, A Mobster Fairy Tale.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
great film. Great
it
little
was.
short.
We had a lot of fun. That was a really good movie, and you can find it on
So
YouTube.
yeah, it's on YouTube. It was on YouTube.
So I got an opportunity when I was in LA to hang out with RJ
Yeah,
for a
tell me
little
about
while.
that. Tell me what
Yeah.
you can tell me. Like, well, how did that go, you know?
We got in touch with each other, and he was nice enough to give me a tour of the whole lot,
Mm.
which was really nice. And then we went out to dinner that evening, and we went to a really nice restaurant in Beverly Hills, and we just had some really good conversations. But we talked about Mobster Fairy Tale, working on that film. Think of the stuff that he did in that movie, where the steady cam, which was an amazing thing, and you could probably talk better about it than I can.
Mm.
But
So well, yeah, so the way it's actually how I met him. I was producing a different film, a short that I was working on, and on Backstage, which is the site that we use for casting.
mhm,
On the side, it'll say, "Look at, similar projects." I don't know if you have access to this or not, if it's from the poster, uh,
I'm not sure. Yeah,
standpoint or the actor standpoint, because it's 2 different, like there's 2 different sides of it, right? So, from my side, it's a casting and production side. I get to see all the actors that are on there. I can invite people, I do it all the time. From your side of things, you're looking at projects to apply
correct.
to. Um, so I don't know what if you see similar stuff or not on there. But anyway, so it said view similar projects. Mine was also a mafia style story, and it said Cadillac, a mobster fairy tale. Click it here, and I went on, and so I was this kid, and I clicked the link. I watched his pitch video for fundraising and stuff, and I said, "Wow, this like well spoken." Listen, I'm not trying to talk down about anybody in college. I've interviewed a lot of college filmmakers here, but RJ stood out. He was local and he was very well spoken. And everything that he said in that pitch video was directly in line with why I got into filmmaking. And so, I sent him an email and said, listen, I own a media company, I'm a producer. And if there's any way that I can help you, I'd be happy to help you. It's a college film. I'm thinking in my head, like, how big could this possibly be? If the kid needs help for a day, whatever, I'll help. So I invite him to my old studio. I was in Topsfield at the time. Um, and I invite him to my old studio, and he came in. We met. We talked for like 3 hours. And we hit it off. In my opinion, we hit it off right away. So I ended up ADing for him and helping with some of the aspects of it that people tend to overlook. So, where are we shooting? What kind of it's set in the 1960s. Everybody's gonna be smoking. We're smoking in the restaurant. Okay. Are we using real cigarettes? Are we using fake cigarette? He had no idea. And it's not, no, I don't mean this in a bad way, like he's a bad person, but these are things that get overlooked. And it was to be honest with you, if you look at a regular college film, the average college film, it's a kid with the camera. Maybe they have a guy with the mic, and they have some people in the film. This was like a production. This
Oh
was a
yeah.
big deal, and if I have pictures behind the scenes photos from this. I'll post them. Like you said, we have Steadicam. RJ, uh, RJ and I are similar. We like to make friends and build that Rolodex of connections. So at one point, he had the Cadillac that you actually drove was this 1960s beautiful Cadillac car that he had, um, that was donated to the film. And this is like a kid doing a college
Yeah.
production. And we're shooting. He used to work in the restaurant where we shot it. So he called up his old boss and said, "Hey, can we use this location?" He said, "Yeah, no problem. Absolutely, 100%." Redressed the whole restaurant, made it look like the 60s, with ashtrays everywhere on every table. And it was a really fun project. But a lot of my help in that was, I mean, it wasn't a lot of help that I gave, but it was a lot of like,
Don't cut yourself short on that. You did help out a lot.
yeah, I guess a little bit, but it was like the minutia. It was the BS things that are gonna take it from a college film to, like, this is one that's gonna win awards,
Yeah.
like the cleanup stuff. And then I helped with the editing of that. I edited it, and, it was just a great project. It was so much fun.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
So it was
It's
it was
surprising though that you had just met RJ because for me, I thought you guys knew each other from for years. The
yeah.
way your relationship was on set, and because the first time I met you guys was that day we shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and like I said, don't cut yourself short, Nick, because what I loved about the way your style of assisted directing is that you kept everyone on task. And I
Mm.
think you need that's so important. I mean, being coming from the world that I came from in the sales end of it, if you cannot keep if you a project kind of sways a little bit, it can screw up everything, right?
I think I have somewhat of a reputation of I come off, I can be a little bit of a dick sometimes. And I think that there is uh the reason for that is because this isn't a $60 million production. And so I feel like on bigger productions with enormous budgets, right away based on, let's say if you're dealing with celebrity, right? You have Leo DiCaprio, or you have a Robert De Niro on set, you're on a Scorsese film. Because of their reputation, the people that get hired to work on those films, they automatically go into it with this sense of respect, and they're going to do their job, and everything is, do you get what I'm saying?
Of course, yeah.
And a lot of times in indie productions, you're hiring friends, you're calling in favors, and it's not always, but there is this sense of this isn't a real movie, or there's this sense of we're all just hanging out and having fun. And that's fine, and it is supposed to be fun. But in that same mentality, I feel like a lot of times people forget that you're also doing a job, and someone somewhere in that room is spending a to them a shitload of money to get something done. And so you ride that line of let's have fun, but we are also making a movie here and we have a job to do. And to me, it's usually not on Cadillac, but usually I'm the person writing the checks. So it's like you can goof off and do all you want. Everybody go to that guy who's goofing off for the check at the end of the day. No
Yeah, right.
problem.
Yeah. I got you.
And so it's like I don't want to come off as a mean person, but I feel like some people can be kind of sensitive sometimes. Not always. I work with great people, but some people can be kind of sensitive sometimes. To me, a set like on set making a film is not the time to like test out new equipment. You know?
Right, right.
I've dealt with this recently. People being like, "Oh, well, I just bought this piece of equipment and this new attachment for my camera. I have no idea how it works. Let's roll it." And I'm
No,
like, "What the hell are you doing?"
that should have no, that should have been done way ahead of time.
Right. And so it's like we only have the location for a day.
Yeah.
We only have these actors for a day. We need to get this stuff done right now, today. And if we do that, everybody's going to be happy.
Everybody will be happy. Yeah.
You know?
Time is something that people have to respect,
Yeah.
especially on set. I mean, because if you can, I mean, if you see that you can actually get things done quicker, no one wants to be there any longer than they have to be.
Mm.
Just to be hanging around. But with with Cadillac, we did have the location just for what 2 days.
Mhm.
We shot the restaurant scene, and and then we also had background.
Mhm.
Now you're dealing with background people. You have to respect their time too, because if anybody's done background out there, like to me, it's if you want to get into the industry, I highly recommend doing some background work because you'll have an understanding of what it's going to be on set someday. If you're actually, if you get a chance to actually have a speaking role, you'll see what it's like. You'll see what what you need to prepare yourself for. If
Mhm.
I didn't do background when I don't know, we're going off on a different direction here,
No,
but
it's okay.
if I didn't do background, I probably did 5 or 6 different background projects we- throughout the Boston area. When I finally did get my what I call my break, so to speak, to get
A
into
speaking
a
role.
speaking role in a motion picture. I mean, do they still call it motion pictures?
Mm.
Maybe not, but that's good. It comes my age coming out. But in a film, it was called Genie. It was filmed in New York, right in Brooklyn, at the Greenpoint Studios. Melissa McCarthy's in the movie. I didn't have a scene with her, but I had a scene with Papa Sidio, who was her co-star. Um, that when I got on set, I had an idea what it was going to be like when I got on a huge, big
Sure.
$1 million a day shoot. And you can't screw up. Talk about time. And
Yeah, well, that's
if
the
you
thing.
think people think that you're hard, not hard on them, it is tenfold on those sets.
Well, this is my point. So you're sitting there and you're thinking, so I don't have an education in film. I don't. I I've told this story a bunch of times. My father oh, switched careers and started a new business and on his own and didn't have the money to call in a media company to film for him. And this was back in like '05. So there were no media. Like the idea of having this type of setup in 2005 was unthinkable
It didn't exist.
unless you had millions of dollars.
Right.
So he bought a camera and he had somebody come in and train me how to use a nice editing software. And then I was conscribed, if you will, to be his media guy. And I fell in love with it. And so I had to teach myself, and obviously I learned a lot on like YouTube when I was 11 years old, and I learned a lot on YouTube and everything else. But I had always wanted to be on set and making films and everything else. And I always, no matter what job I had outside of film, I always wanted to be the head honcho. I always wanted to be the guy with the answers. I always wanted to be the one on top. And if that was the case, I also realized that like you have to work really hard because the people that'll give you that promotion, the people that'll get you to that spot, like they expect you to be like okay, if you go to work let me give you an example. If you go to work at Dunkin' Donuts, you get an entry level job at Dunkin' Donuts, right? And you show up and you punch in on time and you punch out exactly on time. And while you're there, you make the coffees, the bare minimum, right? And you don't screw up. You don't get promoted for that. That's the baseline. That's what you're supposed. That's what you got hired to do. So when you're working at any job, you do the baseline and then you try and do more. Can I stay a little bit later? Can I help set up for tomorrow? Can I help? Blah blah blah. And so you have to push, push, push as hard as you can on yourself, not on other people, but on yourself to rise above. When I was 17, 16, I got a job in a butcher shop, right? And I was a bagger and a cashier. It was a grocery store and butchery. And you walk in and there's a big meat counter there and you see 10 guys waiting in white lab coats ready to cut up the whatevers and package them and give them to everybody else. It was like they were glowing. I go, "How do I get that job? I'm a bagger and a cashier. How do I get that job?" Because they were the top dogs in the
Yeah.
store. And I got promoted, and I was a butcher, and I was 17 years I was so young when I got promoted to be a butcher, I couldn't even touch the knives. So they had me just selling with people, talking to people, doing sales
Oh,
and
that's great.
selling the
Yeah.
meat, and then I'd have to turn around and go, "Can you cut this up for me? Can you can you?" And it was so funny. And eventually I was able to, and I learned a lot there as well. Great stories. I
It's a
would
great
love to.
trade too. I mean,
Yeah, oh yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah, it was amazing. It was a great first job, and it taught
sure.
me a lot, and it was standing all day. You just stand there and deal with people,
Mhm.
and then you take a break, you sit, and your feet go. Your feet are like
Yeah.
throbbing. You get back up, you do it again, and you just keep going. And
My
you never complain, and
No.
you show up on time, and you do your job. Then you get into film, and because for a lot of people it's like this passion, you end up noticing that people kind of show up
Oh god, you're right.
whenever they want. They
Yeah.
talk a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, wait, in this industry, they're spending millions of dollars a day. They're spending $10,000 a day or 5,000 or whatever it ends up being. You got all these people sitting around doing nothing, worried about where Crafty is.
True.
I don't even eat. I don't need to use the restroom when I'm on set. We're here to make a movie. We'll use the restroom at the end of the day, you know? Like, you know me. Like, I will go out to a restaurant after a shoot or after a film festival. I love having fun
Yeah,
hanging out.
we've had a couple of nights,
Yeah,
some fun. Yeah.
right. But on set,
Oh no, it's all business.
if like we're here to make a movie. If you goof off on set, we don't have a movie. I don't know why that's so difficult for some people to understand. And it's like some people are like, well, we're not getting paid or we're not doing. Then don't be in filmmaking. Go do something else. The fuck, like what?
Yeah, it's
I
true.
don't know.
No.
It's just like
Right, right.
nobody has you here with a ball and chain on your ankle. Yeah, if you don't want to do it, then leave. And the thing about film to me is like, if we all do our job, our individual jobs, and we all pull the rope in the same direction, this is going to be the coolest thing anybody's ever seen ever. That's my mentality.
Yeah.
Even if it's not.
Well, we proved it on Cadillac, didn't we?
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we proved it. Because I've done independent films in the past and after Cadillac, and some are good and some really not good at all.
There's a lot of not
Yeah,
so good
yeah.
films.
I did one right after Cadillac, and it was just a shit show. To be quite honest with you, and it never got made, and it was a waste of everybody's time. That's the thing that I I can't deal with, the waste of wasting other people's time.
Same.
Yeah, I just can't deal with that. But
I take it as an insult when I feel like people are wasting my time.
sure,
Because of that, I am so deathly afraid of insulting or wasting someone else's time. And so that drives me. I don't ever want someone to think that I'm wasting their time. And so I'm always striving to be the best that I can be and work as hard as I possibly can. And then when it turns around, because you can't do this, do as I say, not as I do thing. That never worked for me. Ever. It never worked for me. So, and I would notice this in jobs when I would before film. I'd be working and my boss would say, "Oh, do this, do that," and then they wouldn't do it. They'd expect me to do this stuff, but they would slack off and not do anything, and I would take note of that. And that's where you get this feeling that once you get to the top, you can just kind of relax. And you have to work hard. It's lonely at the top. You got to work real. You got to work even harder. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
true.
And let me tell you, when shit hits the fan, nobody else is there. They go, "Oh, you're the big boss." So,
Yeah,
like, when you're dealing with everybody else, you gotta make sure that everybody's doing their job the right way. That's all it is. I don't mean to be mean.
no, you're not.
I wanna make a cool movie.
We've done a few films together.
Yeah.
We did Charles Street also,
Charles Street, yep.
another mob movie.
Yeah, kind of. Less so. I
Less
mean,
so, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I would say Cadillac was definitely the traditional it was inspired by Scorsese's films. It was an homage,
Yes,
Cadillac.
yes, it was. Yeah,
And so we used a lot of the same that steady cam shot from Goodfellas and, those push-ins and the dolly movements and everything else. And they look, I mean, they just I edited together that little side-by-side comparison of you and De Niro.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, it looks great, and that's
Yeah,
what we were going for. And I
yeah.
remember because RJ was he's definitely better now. When he was so young when we made that, and he was so new, and really, I think a little bit and I love it because I'm the same way. I'll definitely bite off more than I can chew, no problem. Like I'll do anything. You know what I mean? And I think there was a little bit of not apprehension after we had filmed, but you don't know it until you see the edit. Like you can see a shot and say that's a really cool shot, but you don't really know how everything's going to go together until you see a cut of the film. And so right when the day after we shot that, I take all the footage back and I pulled the clip from YouTube, I think, of De Niro, and I saw that shot, and then I saw the shot of you pushing in. I'll put it in over this while we're talking, and I sent it to RJ, and I'm like, "Don't worry, we did it. It's been done. It looks amazing, by the way. Like it's perfect. It's exactly what you were going for. Breathe, because it's good." and that was a helpful thing for him, I think. And there were a lot of things like that. But RJ's very talented, and I'm very blessed to know him, and I don't think I'll ever make a film where he's not involved in some capacity
That's
for
great.
for the
That's great.
rest of
Yeah.
my career.
Yeah, he's awesome. RJ's a good guy. Good
Yeah,
guy.
it's good.
Um,
So you get into acting. You
mhm.
did the film with Melissa McCarthy.
I did. Yeah.
We did
Well,
the Charles Street.
we did that.
That was a big deal.
Yeah.
Feature film. And what's the future going to be like for you? Where do you go moving forward? What are you doing?
Um,
You just went to LA,
I
eating in
just,
Beverly Hills?
I
I
did,
didn't
I
get the
did.
invite, by the way. I
I
got left in Massachusetts. Go ahead. Go ahead.
next time for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully, we'll be there next February at the film festival again.
It could be fun.
That could be. Hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed. What's next? I think with me, I don't know. I mean, this is the crazy thing about being involved in independent films and
Mhm.
all that. So if someone's out there right now thinking about getting into this at my age or whatever close to my
Mm,
age, I think that there is a definitely kind of that's something I'd like to do is help. What's next is to help them to achieve their dreams.
mhm.
I don't have the formula to be a celebrity and making $50 million a year
Well,
the-
don't go crazy.
but
You never know. You never
you
know.
never know, right? You never know. But I think I have a decent formula on how to start from basically nothing in this industry, and through education, through taking classes and networking, which is obviously that's what we do. You were in sales, I'm in sales.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too
Yeah,
a little bit.
networking. There's two different parts of being an actor. There is the craft,
Mhm.
and then there is how do you sell yourself.
Mhm.
And I think well, for me, it's that aspect of selling myself to a filmmaker or to an agent, which is something that is really important. If you want to go into the film and TV industry, network TV, that stuff, you need an agent. You can't. It's almost impossible to get a role without an agent.
Mhm.
Um, so there is a way to do that, and like if you want to talk about that, we can talk about that.
We
Or
can talk about whatever you
yeah,
want. It's
I
all
just
interesting to me.
it's funny because was it Wednesday? Wednesday, I had a meeting with an agency out of New York,
Mm.
and so one of the things that's kind of difficult for a New England actor to get representation in New York because they look at the geography of where you live and say, "Oh, there's no possible way you're going to be able to get to New York City to do this," and which
I
is
find that to be so
it
ridiculous.
is ridiculous, right? So, and it's happened to me. I've actually had an agent say, "We're not going to pursue." I mean, she basically hung up on me because
Mhm.
they're like, "You're too far away." So the sales aspect of it, I said, "Well, I need to have an answer for this if this ever comes up again." So I go on Google, and because they consider New York, New Jersey local hires. Okay,
Sure.
all right. So,
Which makes sense. It's right over the
okay,
bridge.
yeah. So, but they don't consider anybody from New England a local hire. They Some do, some don't, but the majority of them, when it comes to getting an agent, they want you to be pretty much in New York and New Jersey. All right.
Yeah.
So I do my research. I Google. I say, okay, from the Rhode Island border, because I live in Rhode Island. I don't know if I said that. I live from the Rhode Island border to Greenpoint Studios, where I did the Genie movie, was 138 miles.
That's nothing.
It's nothing. It's
Cakewalk.
2 hours and 22-minute drive, right? I mean, if you get traffic, that's different.
Yeah, but you plan it.
You
I mean,
plan it. You
you
plan it.
plan it
Yeah,
out.
right. It's
Whatever.
nothing,
Yeah.
right?
Like,
So,
no, you're leaving rush hour. Let's
yeah,
go.
right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, from the furthest point, the
Yeah.
southern point of New Jersey, which is Cape May, I
Mm.
did this, right? And I went, oh, okay. It's 168 miles, something like that.
Right.
Everybody on YouTube don't kill me if that wasn't exactly the
Well,
miles.
whatever. Yeah.
Right. But what I'm getting, I guess the point is that there is actually a further point
Mm.
of New Jersey to get to Greenpoint Studios than it was for me to get from Providence, right?
But they're considered local. You're
And
not.
I'm not local. So I I, I had another agent meeting, or this was an agent meeting, and I said, I'm ready for this. So right away, I said, look, I want to be totally transparent with you. I am not from the New York area. I'm currently living in southern Rhode Island, which is, I said, it's only a 2.5 hour drive. They're like, yeah, it seems a little far. We're not really sure if we want to hire anybody. And I go right into that. I'm like, I got to do my sales pitch now, right?
I love
Hey,
it.
let me tell you this, right? That it's Cape May is actually further, and this, and they're like, "Oh, that's interesting." They didn't put me on their roster, but
Wow.
they were like, "Okay, that's just interesting." But at least I got an opportunity
Try it.
to try it, right? Wednesday, I meet with another agency on Zoom, and Wednesday afternoon we have this meeting, and I do the same thing. I want to be transparent. I am not from the New York area.
Why say that?
Just because I need
And
a
I'm not
little.
giving you a hard
No,
time.
no, no,
Why not just
no.
like
That's
knowing that there's like further spots in New Jersey? Why not just say, yeah, I'm local, yeah,
I do say I'm. I try to, but just in case, I don't.
because you're not lying.
But my address when they start cutting checks and all that stuff. But more importantly is, it's not that I'm lying. It's I don't want to lie, but I want to be transparent. I want to know
That's
that I
fair. I mean,
need.
I get it.
I'm
Yeah.
not local. Like I'm not 30 minutes away. Because there's been times when I've had another agency that I have commercial agent
Mm,
that's actually said, we need you like right now to drive to Manhattan. I'm like, I'm 2.5 hours away. I can't get there in 30
sure.
minutes. Um, so just want to let them know about that. So I was speaking to this potential new agency,
Mm.
and I want to be transparent. I said I'm actually from Rhode Island. I explained to them, and this agent actually has gone north of New York and drove to Connecticut. And she's like, "That's not far." I'm like, "Thank God." So they understood, and then also she looked at the other part of it, saying, "Well, I can actually now cast you if I get Boston auditions." Because most of those auditions for major films and TV go through New York,
Mm.
and or where LA, New York. And I was like, wow. So fortunately, we agreed to partner for about 3 months
See how it
and see
goes.
how it goes. And I'm excited. I'm excited that
Good.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
That's good
So
stuff.
yeah,
No, it's
but
it's nice when you find somebody
if
who's willing
someone's
to.
out there right now saying, well, how do you do that? How do you get an agent?
Mhm.
First of all, you need to be on a great independent film like Cadillac and Mobster Fairy Tale, because that was the footage that I could put on it was a reel that I could add to my portfolio that said, "Hey, wow, he's worked on a set, he's worked on a great film. It looks great." Um, so with that being said, that has to go on a reel. You need professional headshots, everyone. Don't if you don't have professional headshots, if you're using your cell phone, they a casting agent or a talent agent's not going to take you seriously.
Mm.
So you need to invest in that. You get a couple of independent films under your belt and a couple of credits.
What
Doesn't
if
it?
what if they don't what if the indie films that you're in they can't pay you? Should you just turn them down and not do them?
No, absolutely
So
not.
you should do some free work?
Yes,
Interesting. Go
yeah.
ahead, go into it.
I've done free work. I mean, I've done
No,
free
I
work,
know, so do I. I do it
or
all the time.
yeah. So free work or anything under $500 is free work. I mean, that's what
Yeah,
because
yeah,
by
yeah.
the
It's
time
gas money,
by the
right.
time you get there, maybe you need a room that night, So, yeah, I mean, if they're gonna give you a couple $100, that's great. But yeah, do free work as long as vet it out. Make sure that the people that are doing the film are going to produce it and make it look good, and ask questions, because if you just blindly walk in, and you could tell, we know, you walk on a set and you're like, this is gonna be crap, But
Sure.
when you walked onto Cadillac, you knew right away this is legit.
Which I wanna point out, again, it was a college film, like, it
Yeah,
was like a senior film for this kid, and you walk in and you go, "Might as well be Hollywood."
might as well. Yeah,
Like, it was a huge set.
yeah,
We had
you're
a
right.
lot of
No,
stuff going there,
absolutely,
which was great, a lot of
absolutely.
components, a lot of
Mm,
moving parts.
mm.
But
But
yeah,
so
go ahead.
back on that, if someone's interested in doing that, pursuing that, you need to get yourself on Backstage, Actors Access, create that, and then from there, like Actors Access, for instance,
Mm,
which is the standard when it comes to the network TVs and the
sure.
big Hollywood films. Um, there there is a resource that they have, and I think it's like $39. It's called Talent Link. All right.
Mhm.
And I've submitted on it. You basically they push out your information to any agent that is accepting, new people at the time.
Sure.
And sometimes you don't hear back from anyone,
Mhm.
or once in a I heard back from my first agent about 2 years ago, and that's how I got my first agent, through Talent Link on Actors Access,
That's
and
great.
it's like $39. I mean, it's not anything crazy, but you gotta have your stuff together though. You just can't do it without having all those.
Well, what would you say to people who can't find an agent or can't get an agent or whatever else? I mean, they should still apply and do film work, right? I mean, you
Absolutely,
have to
yeah.
do films in order to have a reel to present to
Yeah, you
people,
can
so
go on. You can go backstage. Actors Access has a ton of like non-union and some union things that you don't need an agent for.
right.
But if you're trying to get into, I always said, the Dick Wolf universe, which is that
Yeah,
L.A. Law.
the next step.
I mean, Law and Order. I'm sorry, L.A. Law. That's an old one too. Wow, I'm just like
Yeah, West Wing, if you're trying to get on that.
I'm dating myself on this, but yeah, the whole Law and Order
Don't get me
universe.
started, I'm an old soul. I'll start talking about I Love Lucy, dude, I don't care.
I do like that too.
Yeah.
Um, so if that's something you're interested in, that's a path through that. You need an agent to do that. For instance, I don't know if you heard, but the Blue Bloods, which was the
Mm,
big series that was out in New York, I actually auditioned for it twice, didn't get it, but they are now in negotiation with Mark Wall. No, no, who's the other Wahlberg? Not Mark. I'm sorry, Donnie Wahlberg.
Donnie, oh,
Donnie
yeah, yeah,
Wahlberg
okay, yeah.
was
Blue
in
Bloods.
Blue Blood,
Yeah.
and we actually had his nephew in our movie.
Yes,
Yes, we
yeah,
had Brandon. Brandon
Brandon was in
Wahlberg
there.
was in our
Yep.
movie. Yeah. So Brandon,
Yeah, Brandon's a good guy.
yeah,
I should have him on.
you got to have him on. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he's
great. He's
hilarious.
great. Great act. He is really funny.
Mm.
But back to
This'll be a clip on Instagram because I love calling people out. I'll tell you right now, Brandon, let's get your ass in
Brandon.
here. Calling
Yes,
you out
yes. We need
publicly. You better get on the show.
and
Thank you
Brandon,
very
we need
much.
you in another film of ours. But
100%.
yeah. But his uncle is supposedly Boston. It's called Boston. Oh God, I'm gonna screw it up. That was Blue Bloods. Boston Blue. Boston
Okay,
Blue
yeah, yeah.
is going to. It's a new kind of a spin-off of Blue Bloods, and if we let's hope and pray that they end up filming it here, and that would be a pretty cool thing. That's out there, so it's not. I'm not spilling
No,
any beans.
whatever. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but Brandon was a lot of fun to work with.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah,
Brandon Wahlberg is one of the
yeah.
funniest people.
And you can see that. Check it out on Cadillac. Cadillac's on
Yeah,
YouTube. You'll
he's
see him
great.
on there. He's really funny.
And he's good at he'll mess with you during a scene on purpose. And I
Yeah.
used to say, I'd be like, yeah, mess with them. You know what I mean? Like go and like improv a little
The
bit, ad
scene
lib a little
with
bit.
him and John,
Yeah.
when they're in the back alley and they're going back and forth about they have to meet with Frank. That is a great scene.
Yeah.
Them two. They did a really nice job.
Yeah, it's
John
good stuff.
Potman.
I loved it. No,
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's great. We could talk about oh, go ahead. What? You
No,
got something?
nothing. I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about auditioning a little bit.
Oof. Yeah.
How do what are I got to I'm gonna have John on at some point. John's all over the place because he lives in Florida now, but he comes up here for stuff, and his family lives here, and a lot of stuff.
Just
So
gonna
it's
have a
difficult.
sip of this. Is
Yeah,
that
go ahead.
okay?
The scheduling with John is difficult, but he'll be on eventually. Um, and we were talking about stuff, and I love actors. I love actors. I try and keep it very nice and calm with actors on set. Crew people, I usually hold to a standard of like, we got to get stuff done. Actors, you got to massage a little bit and be like, all right.
Me too.
No, in general. I'm not even talking about John, but I'm saying I don't like to yell at actors. You know what I mean? I don't like to get all snappy and whatever with actors,
Yeah.
unless it
Can I tell a
requires.
story about you though?
I would love you to tell a story, please.
So,
Oh God, here we go. Go
no,
ahead.
because what I
You can
love,
say whatever you want. Seriously.
what I loved, and I told you this. I think I probably told you this before. Was you say that you can be prick on set, but that is that what you said?
Yeah.
But
Brick, dick,
sorry,
same
I
thing.
don't want to. I don't know if this is PG or
No,
whatever. This
there's
is.
nothing PG
All right.
here. Yeah.
But
Take your clothes off. No, I'm just
you don't want to see that. But
Go, tell the story.
so I met you, and I didn't know exactly what you and RJ. Like, to me, you were co-directing that, and I think in a way, I mean, and then once I got on set, I could see that RJ was a director, and you were there to really help him out with a lot of things.
Yeah,
But
I didn't want, not to interrupt you. I didn't want the dynamic on that set was you have this young director
Yeah.
who's in school for writing, who had never directed anything before of anything of substance. On this huge set with all these moving parts, it's very easy for people to try and start taking advantage of him. And I like, and then he's the one left holding the bag.
Sure, yeah,
So there was no point in that film that I wanted people. And again, he was working with friends and stuff. It's not a bad, but like nobody was like bad to RJ on that set. But
no,
I could see when people would start slacking that RJ was in a position of like, what do I do?
hmm
these are my friends. How do I snap them into gear and get things going?
Yeah,
I
I
don't
did
wanna
see
be
that.
an ass,
I
you
saw
know?
you. I
And
actually
guess what? They weren't my friends.
there was a.
I was
I,
there for RJ, so
yeah,
I had no
you
problem
had no
cracking
problem.
heads
Yeah,
together and being like, "Get this shit
I
done."
saw a few things where you're like, you know, come on, you need to do this. I don't want to call anybody out,
No,
but
no, of course.
and they stepped up.
And they do.
Yeah,
That's the thing, because
mm,
once you tell people like, "Hey, we're here for this guy to make a film," everybody goes, "Yeah, you're right. Shit, I
yeah,
gotta do that." You
yeah,
know?
sure.
Anyway, tell your story.
So I remember when I was, I can't remember exactly the scene that we were doing, but you came up to me during the scene and you were just, like I had done something before that you liked. And you were like, "Hey, Savino, I need you to go back to what you did." And you brought me up to the
Monitor.
video village or whatever,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
monitor
yep.
part, and you said, "See what you did there?" I go, "Yeah, I get it. All right. So I need you to do that." I said,
Mm,
"Okay." And as an actor, I love that.
mm,
I love being directed.
mhm.
Um, don't get me wrong. I enjoy being able to be
Make
spontaneous and
choices.
make choices too, but I do love to be directed. Um, Kind of fast forward to Charles Street, and then
Mhm.
you came in and helped out on Charles Street. You came in on the bakery scene, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and that was actually the first scene in the movie, but we shot that out of
Like
sequence.
one
Yeah,
of yeah,
we
yeah,
shot
last,
that
yeah.
way out of sequence, and at that point, I was probably, you know, my. I'm not saying I was in, I was present, but you came up to me and you were like, "Come here." I go, I was like, What's up, Nick?" I go, and you did it. You didn't want to step on it like anybody
No, I
told me. You
don't
said
like to step on toes. I
you
really
went, but
don't.
you looked at me. You went, "You need to be a little more like Frank on that."
Mhm.
And that's all I needed to hear. And I was like, "Okay." And I needed that little snap. And when I heard that, I went into a different mode. And when you see the film, that's the scenes those are the scenes that they use. Those are the takes that they use, I should say.
Mm.
So I thank you for that. So you see film, I think I mean, you see, I think your director for actors is great. I mean, you're a good director really, let's say great director when it comes to actors. So I don't know,
Appreciate that.
maybe the crew, it's different, but for an
Maybe.
actor, I really appreciate the way you
Yeah.
see a film
Well,
being made.
okay. So, and I don't wanna this is nothing against you personally at all. I think that when you're new to acting, I did a different film altogether. It was, based on a true story, and it was, about a young man who ended up taking his own life, which is very
Oh,
sad stuff. And throughout a lot of the film, the character had to show the people around him that he was fine. And then there were scenes where right after he was fine around people, he'd have to be alone. And we would have to be able to see without lines because he's alone. Who's he going to talk to himself? So without lines, we'd have to see that shift from everything's fine to everything's not fine. And so you'd have this kid who was a fantastic actor, but he was newer and he hadn't done a lot of stuff, and he wasn't really doing anything to show that he was depressed. And I said, I go, listen, you have to you're sitting there by yourself. I need you to imagine if you were doing an interpretive dance, right? Of telling this story. Because there's no words. So if you were doing an interpretive dance of what it looks like to be depressed, what would you do? Because otherwise, you in your head, you may be starting to feel those emotions as an actor and process that stuff and get into a headspace of a person who's depressed. But on camera, it looks like this.
yeah,
So you're just sitting there. I need you to do something that shows me that you're going through it. You know what I mean?
absolutely. Yeah,
All of a sudden, with that adjustment, it did a great job. Everything was fine. The movie looks beautiful. It's a great film. Do you get what I'm saying?
right.
So like
Yeah,
it's not about whether you're good or bad. It's more of like when you say, "Oh, I think you see film." Yeah, I'm looking at it going, if I'm a regular person who spent $20, my God, on a film ticket, on a ticket to go see a movie, and I'm watching this scene, what are you giving me? Are you giving me a performance that says this is good? or are you just sitting there?
You're phoning it in, right?
Right. Are
Yeah.
you just reading lines? And
Yeah.
this is why I want to talk to you about auditions, and
Sure.
this is why I brought up John Puffin,
Yep.
because we talked about this on the phone recently. There is I'm noticing there is a huge influx, no names, but there is a huge influx of actors who will get lines from like sides from a director or sides from a producer or something, and they just sit there on camera and read the lines. They read them. They don't perform anything. They just read the lines and then they send it in. And let me tell you something. It is the most disheartening, aggravating thing in the world. Because to me, I take honestly, maybe I'm just an emotional guy, whatever, and I'm an artist, and there's a whole bunch of stuff there, and maybe I'm over dramatic with it. Maybe a lot of directors and producers who see this don't give a shit. I do. I take it as a slap in the face. You take the time. I'm offering to give you money for a performance, and the best you can do, not you, but the best people can do as an actor is send in a video of themselves just reading off of a page like this. They don't even look at the camera, and then it cuts to black and they send it in. Now, John has told me, and I'll let John speak for himself when he comes on, but John has told me that there is a lot of pressure on actors to submit as many self tapes as they possibly can. So that's why they don't take the time to do. I was like, how do you feel about something like
Oh,
that? And what's your advice to people
that's
who
a
are just
great
reading?
question. Um, the first part, I mean, I'll take the second part. The question is, there. Yes, John's correct. They are getting. You get if you're fortunate enough, you're going to get a ton of auditions. They're asking for the turnaround time 2 3 days tops. They want, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
So
So,
I'll tell you this: every audition that I've ever, or every posting I've ever done, I give a month. It's
oh
always
wow,
a
yeah,
month
yeah,
for the first turnaround.
sure.
Always.
That's a tremendous amount of time.
Yeah, well, I plan
um,
it. I plan it that way. I plan it in advance, and I say, "I'm gonna shoot this movie in 6 months.
right.
We need to start casting right now. I need sides." And they have a month before I start callbacks.
Okay.
That's how I do it. Now, other
That's
people don't, and I understand that that's,
it's
you know
different in the it's in maybe in with the independent films, and you have a little more time. Your production is going to be pushed out a little bit longer. But when you're dealing with like I keep saying, the TVs and things like
Sure.
that, those are 2 days, 3 days tops, and it's
Yeah,
a race. I mean, usually, and they'll tell you, your agent will tell you straight out, the faster you put it in, the higher your chances are getting a callback.
mhm,
But to answer your question, I do not read. I will take the time. I don't read it off the script. I will take the time. I rather miss a couple of words,
mhm,
but give you the gist of what the scene is about,
sure.
and try to be in that scene. Give them what they're going to cast.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't go for. I mean, I wouldn't. If I was in your shoes, I would just delete that. I
I
would delete that.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
I watch the first, like, couple of seconds if they're just reading or what, and then I'm like, "Alright, I'm out. I'm done. I don't
yeah,
care.
yeah.
I don't care." And it's unfortunate because it doesn't make them a bad actor. It
Right.
just means that they don't care enough to
So
take the
it's
time
funny
to.
you say. I took a class with a casting director, and the
Mhm.
casting director says they usually take approximately 6 seconds to make a decision if they're going to
Yeah,
keep you as a maybe a choice, one of the 5 or 6 that they decide to cast. So
sure.
you get 6 seconds to make an impression. So if you're
Yeah,
reading, if you're looking down and they don't see your face.
yeah.
um, and speaking of auditioning, to spend the money on it, you have a light, you can buy it
We don't
on.
have to buy these lights. I mean, this is
No, but
studio lights, yeah.
I bought mine on Amazon for, I don't know,
Sure.
$60.
Sure.
Have a blank wall.
Yeah,
Don't have like pictures of your dogs behind you, because the casting director is going to be completely distracted,
right.
right? So have a nice blue, whatever, white wall just behind you. Dress for the character.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that if you're a doctor, you don't have to have a stethoscope. What is this? I can't remember.
Stethoscope.
Stethoscope, whatever it's
Yeah.
called. But dress for the character. Don't If you're supposed to be a lawyer and you're wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt, I mean, you're throwing yourself right off.
I agree.
Um, but I like to audition. I enjoy
Yeah.
auditioning. I'm fortunate. I have a few actors that we get together and we audition for each other. I
Mhm.
created a little room in my house that I call my little studio. That
Yeah, it's good.
any of my friends can come. We'll audition for each other. We'll read for each other, I should say. And you know, speaking of that, um, I think we're going to talk about this
Go,
when it
yeah.
comes to My Kind of People, the movie I was in.
Yeah, yeah.
That I was not. cast in that movie. Originally I wasn't cast in it,
Mm.
and the first I knew about it because I saw the audition come through on Actors Access, and I was like, "Oh, this Uncle Mike character, I really would like to like read for this." And my friend Michael came over for an audition. I'm reading the audition, and I'm reading my lines, and I'm like, I'm Uncle Mike. I'm reading Uncle Mike because he's auditioning for one of the characters, right? I'm like, shit, this is the movie I'm trying to get in. How did you get in this, right?
That's
Or how did you
funny.
get the audition for it? And I was actually out to dinner with him last night. We were talking about this. He goes, I don't know. I just, I applied. I said, I applied also. And he's like, yeah. He goes, so I'm reading for him, and he continues to get callbacks. And I said, do you have the director's, email address? So he goes, yeah, I do. So back to my sales skills. You don't take no for an answer. Okay.
Right.
So I emailed the director. I never heard back from him. I don't think so. So okay, and then Mike comes back to the house, and he's like, "I got a call back. They want me to do this scene." I'm like, "Geez," and I'm so happy for him. But we
Sure.
don't compete against him. Mike's
No, it's not a competition.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mike's 25, 30 years young, 25 years younger than me. So he's doing that. I'm trying to be the old guy, Uncle Mike. And I go, okay, do you have it? Like, this is great. I think you're going to get the role.
Yeah, you're doing a
Michael,
good
right?
job.
And we read for him. He submits again. A friend of mine calls me and she says, they're looking for, because they're filming this in Rhode Island now. Even though he was from New York, I mean, LA, and then he came to New York, and they filmed this in Rhode Island. She goes, they're looking for background actors, and this is the casting director's name. I says, okay, they were looking for Italian Americans to family
Goombas.
dinner. Yeah, for the family dinner.
Yeah.
I get the casting director's name, and I send her an email, and I say, "Look, I'm willing to do background on this project. I
Sure.
want it's in it. It's the Russo brothers are involved in it
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
somewhat. I'm like, anywhere I can get involved in this project, I wanted to get involved." I said, "But I just want to let you know, I am a professional actor. I am a SAG actor. I can speak Italian. Posso parlare italiano. I miei genitori sono nati in Italia." So I wanted to let him. That was my little Italian thing. If anybody out there says this guy can't speak Italian, yes, he can. Um,
Yeah.
so I do my pitch to her. She emails me back, and she says, the character, because I did say I like to audition for Uncle Mike. I tried, and I never got the audition. And she's like, well, we don't have that. Character's already, been cast, but the director is probably going to add a few more characters. And why don't you come in for an audition?
Mm.
Right? Because they were auditioning in Rhode Island now. So I go in, and I finally get the audition, right? So I'm not taking no for an answer. I go do the audition. There's like 6 guys in the room. Right? They all kind of look like me. Right. One guy's like completely dressed, jogging suit, big Italian flag on his thing. I'm like, oh God,
Yeah,
right.
here we go.
I don't know. I'm not sure if he was the one, but I ended up getting the role. I didn't get the role. So they gave me the Dear John letter, the Dear John email. Like,
Yeah.
thanks,
Thank you for your time.
Savino, you were great. Thank you for your time.
However,
However, we're going a different direction.
yeah.
All right. And that's fine.
Purtroppo.
I was like, okay. I'm like, okay, well, at least I tried, I guess.
Right.
And I'm expecting my friend Mike, to get into this film. So he gets the Dear John letter. I'm like, oh God, we both got knocked out of this thing. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
Both, I knew they were actually shooting on a Saturday and for the weekend. And it was maybe about 4 or 5 days before the shoot date, I get a phone call. See, it's New York. And I'm like, like I didn't answer it. But get the voicemail. It's the director, Joe Picozzi. Hey, Savino, we really love your audition. Something happened with the actor who's playing Uncle Mike. He can't make it. We would love to cast you as Uncle Mike, right? I call him back. I said, Joe, I had an event scheduled with Nick for Charles Street.
Oh, okay.
I had a premiere. We had a premiere of the movie, and I promised Nick that I would be there for the Q&A portion, right? So I just said to Joe, I said, Joe, I can't do it. I says, I got this thing going on. And the producer goes, we'll pay you double.
You go, that premiere can wait.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a lot of money, but it was no big deal.
No, but you could tell they needed you. They wanted
needed
you.
me,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So I said, I'll do it, Joe.
And
I
Nick's
said,
a good guy. I mean, I'm sure he
I called
understood.
Nick and I explained to him that,
Yeah.
And like any other production, what ended up happening, I was supposed to, he said, I'll get you out by 6 o'clock so you can make
You
it.
there till 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I was there till 3 in the morning. Correct. But I guess the point I'm making is that I continued to really want to be in this movie. One way or the other, I was going to get into it, even if it was background. So if you really want to be in something, you have to continue to pursue. Don't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
And if I don't, and Paul Mike, my friend Mike didn't get in the movie, which he's the one that auditioned constantly for it.
Yeah.
But it is sometimes it's the breaks. It's somebody backs out, you're in, and next thing you know, the rest is history, so to speak. I get to go to LA. I get to go, rub elbows with some really cool people out there. We can get into when it comes to the LA thing. At that Russo Brothers, we went to the Agbo Studios, which is right in downtown LA. We had the screening of our film. So our film screened first, and then it's the two after that. There was, I think we talked a little bit about this on the phone. There were two actors that I'm like, wow, I know these guys. I mean, Ray Abruzzo, who was in The Sopranos, was in one of the films right after me. He played Carmine
Lupatazzi Jr.
Lupatazzi Jr. Correct.
Yep.
And another actor was in the third movie. His name is Lou. I think it's, oh God, I'm going to screw up his name, but Lou Mertoli, I think it is. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. But he's also been in The Sopranos, but he was also in Mike and Molly, which was a Melissa McCarthy sitcom.
Yes.
117 episodes. He played, I think his name was, I don't even know.
Joe, I think.
I don't
Something
know.
like that. He was a
He
Chicago.
was like the Italian. He was like the Italian American guy. He was like, he really
but
didn't
Chicago
fit.
style, which is totally different.
Was it Chicago style?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. That the whole series takes place in Chicago.
So I turn around. I'm like, these guys are in the audience with me, and we're both sharing the screen together.
Sure.
So I was, I usually don't get starstruck, but
no, but it's a good feeling.
It was.
You feel like you're in.
Yeah, and this is, I guess,
and I will say, and this is part of the reason, not to cut you off, but this is part of the reason I don't get starstruck. Because when you're in the room with the celebrities at the premiere, at the whatever it is, and you're looking around and you go, you see, I'm not saying anything with the people that you were with, but I'm saying you look around the theater or whatever, and you see this celebrity picking his nose or whatever it is, and you go, oh my God, these are just people.
They're just people.
They're just people just like me. So why the hell am I getting all like, wow, amazing.
Yeah.
Like, we're all the same. We're just people. And let me tell you something. The power grid shuts down or nuclear war, God forbid.
Oh, God.
Nobody cares what kind of movie you've been in. We are all just people. And like I said a couple weeks ago, it's like 80 years, you guess, where it's like you get hopefully a little bit longer or whatever, but this is all you get, one shot.
That's it.
So like I live by the sentiment that nobody's better than me, but I'm not better than anybody else either. We're just people.
Same way.
So let's just all go and do our jobs and have fun, and maybe we make some cool stuff that'll outlast our lives.
Exactly. Yeah. So after our 3 films, they screened, they give us a little break. So we go back out to the forum. The Russo brothers are so gracious. They had food and open bar. It was amazing event. And I see those 2 actors having a conversation. So I said, I'm going to walk up to him. And I was actually going to walk up to him like a fan. Like, guys, I saw you in Sopranos. I see you in Mike and Molly. But the cool thing that happened was that they both saw me coming. And they turned around like, hey, you did a great job in that movie. Where'd you film it? And they started asking me questions. I was like, at that moment, I'm like, I'm an actor.
Yeah.
I'm an actor. These are my peers now. And look, they are at a different level. I get it. They've done tremendous things, but at that moment, I was their peer, and that was probably one of the proudest moments I had as an actor.
That's great.
So that was a really pretty cool thing. It lasted for about 3 minutes.
Yeah,
and then we all went our separate ways.
It's a cool moment. Yeah. And why? Can you imagine if they were like, oh, yeah, with the Savino guy here.
Yeah, no,
like, who the fuck?
Great.
What are you talking about?
I wish I could get Lou's name. Oh my God, I wish I could get his last name, but we could probably put it up.
Right? I can look up for you.
Yeah. I hate doing stuff like that. But
Lou Mustillo.
Lou Mustillo. That's it. Nice man. Good actor. Great actor. He was in Sopranos also. He played.
Really? Who was he in Sopranos? I feel like I know that series back.
Do you remember when Paulie Walnuts
Oh, he was the
The
gardener. He
gardener who
was
fell off the yeah, he fell yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and he had the broken arm
He
and he
had
was
the
walking
broken arm. He was
around.
like in 5 or 6
Well, you know what's
episodes.
funny about that? So, like, there is a difference, and this is exactly why I say in the beginning of our conversation that Italian American Italian American culture specifically is its own culture. It's not the
Correct.
same as being in Italy, growing up in Italy.
No, absolutely not.
But there are different Italian American cultures from here to California. So you have New York Italian Americans, Boston Italian Americans are totally different. They come from the same place and there's a foundation that is very similar, but the culture in America is totally different. Then you go to Chicago and there it's again, it's a whole other world. And if you watch The Sopranos and you watch Lou Mastillo playing the gardener as an Italian American who has to deal with the mob who's like, shaking him down for a whole bunch of stuff. He's from New Jersey in that show.
Yes,
Then if you watch Mike and Molly, it's like looking at a guy from Minnesota, like that's like, and it's totally different
it's
accent,
different,
and
right.
it's a totally different vibe, and he's hilarious in Mike and Molly. It's a
Yeah, he
fantastic
is.
job.
It's really good.
And I just think that it actually matters because you can't, if you think of like a French person, right? The stereotype of the striped shirt with the beret and the mustache, and it's like
Okay.
a mime, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Stereotype. I'm saying the worst stereotype you think. Think of an Italian person from Italy, you're gonna think of one thing. You think of an Italian American, you're thinking of a fat bald guy from
Yeah, with the
wherever,
tracksuit on.
tracksuit,
Yeah.
like you were saying.
Mm,
And so these are like stereotypes that are general to the population that everybody thinks of.
mm.
And then you go and see somebody do a really good specific location acting job or what, and you go, wow, like that's
Yeah.
especially if you see him do two different ones. Because he's a plain Italian guy in both shows.
Right.
But they're two different people
They are,
entirely,
yeah.
two different cultures.
Yeah.
It's
And
beautiful.
then the film that he was in, that was, screened, he played a different character too. He was more of he had an Italian well, I don't think they identified what nationality he was, but he played like an agent in the 1950s, talent agent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he had a real nice role there, and, he did a great job with it. But yeah, there's whole different aspects. I mean, I've actually played a talent agent in one independent film, so I don't get cast all the time as the Italian American.
No, no, sure,
No,
sure. But you get what I'm saying though.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like this, it's everybody's different. Because if you're like a one note person, you know what I mean?
Yes, that's you try not to be that one, that stereotypical
Right, exactly.
type of
Yeah, and there's a
character.
lot of places to go with it. I think it's important for actors and stuff listening to or watching to see that um if you get that just because you get an audition for a mafia movie or something doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're good at.
Yeah,
Don't get
and,
typecast.
speaking of that, you must have seen my audition for Cadillac.
Mhm.
I don't think I did it over the top. I didn't want to do it over the top with over the top with the accent and all that stuff. But it was one word that supposedly RJ said I said it said sausage and I pronounced it salsiccia, which
Yeah.
is the way
Italian for
Italian way. He
sausage.
goes, "Oh, that's why I cast you." I'm like, "Oh, thanks a lot," because I could say sausage.
Well,
in
sometimes though,
Italian.
Savino, like it's you can have. I'll tell you this much. I've seen. I've been casting recently and watching, and I'm big on inviting people, right? So I'll make a post, and then I can't wait. I don't want to wait for people to ask if they can audition. I don't like that. So I scroll through
You see
based
someone,
on who I think the character would look like. I set my parameters. It's going to be a guy who can play someone 40 to 60, somewhere in there, or a kid that can play 18 to 35. Like, I set my parameters. And then it allows you on my side of things to invite and ask, like, invite to audition for this role.
right?
And I'll invite 1,000 people. And,
How many
100,
people actually respond back?
a lot.
Okay,
A lot. Think about it. It's an actor. It's somebody's making a movie. You're an actor. You get asked to audition
that's
for
good.
something
Yeah, it's big.
specific. They do it. So this is why I take such offense. Like, especially if you get invited for something, and if not you, but I'm saying if you're a person who just reads the script on that thing, I'm like, all right, get out of here. You're done.
Yeah,
But if I'm inviting you, it's because you have a certain look that I like, that I think is the look for the character, and I haven't even heard your voice yet. So what I'm saying is, if you get the invite, especially if you get the invite from me,
hmm,
take a minute and you don't need to look any certain way because you got it. That's why I asked you to audition. You know what I
correct.
mean?
Yeah,
So now you got the look. So now let's see what you do with the character. You know what I mean?
sure.
And so if you already have the look, and then you go on and you make it your own, and you actually develop a character there for the audition, Of course, one word can get you the role,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah.
I will say your co-star in Cadillac, John,
John. Yeah.
RJ was concerned that he ended up playing. It's funny because you auditioned for a role for me,
I did. Yes.
and that same role, a lot of people that were in your age category auditioned for that role. And for whatever reason, it didn't feel right. And the whole story that I was doing was about like a younger crew of guys that were trying to get back to the old way of doing things. That was the premise of the film. And so I ended up casting John in the role that you auditioned for because he's
Wow.
much
Yeah.
younger.
Sure he is. Yeah. A
And
lot
then you
younger.
guys both ended up co-starring in Cadillac together,
Yeah.
so you got to meet. That was a cool
Yeah. And
moment.
John and I worked on another project together also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but what I'm saying though is that you auditioned for me. I loved your audition, but I needed a different vibe. RJ saw the audition for John for my movie. He saw the film, the way that it looked when John was on set, and then ended up casting him in Cadillac. He was concerned that John looked a little too Irish. He didn't know if he could play him. You know what I mean?
Did a
An
great
Italian
job.
guy.
Yeah, he did a great
It
job.
was perfect.
Yeah.
The guy, it was. I can't imagine Cadillac with any other cast. You
Yeah.
know, which is a great feeling to have. You never want to go back and go, oh, we should have used this other guy. What do we do here? You know,
Mm.
you don't want to have that feeling, and we don't. I mean, RJ is very happy with it, and it did very well in festivals and got a
Yeah.
lot of
We won
accolades, which is cool.
15, 16 different awards, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but
it's all on. Well,
sometimes it can be a word, or it can be a certain look,
yeah.
or it can be a certain thing, because then it's on the director. So it's like if you have it, now it's on us to bring it out of you. You know what I
Correct.
mean on set.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think you did a
Well,
fantastic
thank you.
job.
Yeah.
And I think it's very cool that you started. It's never too late,
No.
you
Never.
know. Just get into it. You want to do
Yeah.
something? Get into it.
Yeah.
Just try it. I think there's a very bright future for New England film in the works. I want to do more with more people, and I don't know. There's a lot of things on the horizon. A
Oh,
lot of good stuff.
absolutely.
You know.
You don't have to be. You can make a movie anywhere nowadays. You know.
You can. It
Um.
puts a lot of pressure on us though, because the fact that you can make a movie anywhere and anything can be a movie and you can just post it on YouTube means that if you want to be successful, you got to make something good.
You gotta. Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
make anything bad anymore. You got to make something good and have it work out. But
Right.
what you got anything else?
Coming up.
Yeah, well, or just
Well, I
in
mean.
general, you got
Yeah.
anything else you want to talk
Well,
about?
I mean. Yeah. I mean, you can.
There's no time limit, but you know.
No. But if anybody's out there that's interested in casting or have a project, please, reach out. You could probably put my email on.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
email, Instagram too, if you want
Yeah,
people to
all
follow
that
you on
stuff. Yeah,
Instagram.
just Savino LaQuale, everything else. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
that's all. Put my name in there. There's not many of that names like that.
Yeah.
So what something where I'm actually back in the Boston International Film Festival this year in April.
So is me and RJ.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Awesome.
And it's like the day after my birthday, April
You have
13th.
you have a project in?
Yeah.
Which one?
Cold, the one we shot
Oh,
last night, yeah.
yes. I think they actually RJ used my photo or something. um, um, the
For which one?
for that one.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
um,
Okay.
because
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
I'm the
yeah,
dead
yeah.
guy.
He did.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm the
yes. It's funny. Yeah.
So
When the
technically, I
post-credit,
guess
yeah.
I'm in that too. At least
That's
my
funny.
photos in it. Yeah, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'll
We're
see you there then.
yeah, we're in. I'm in a film called Fletcher's Five,
Oh, cool.
and yep, there's a lot of local New England actors, really good, fine New England actors that are in it. And it's written by John Mertz and directed by Jay Street. And we had a lot of fun. We shot that in October all over the Boston area. It was really it's really gonna hopefully it does well. So
Yeah, we have a short there. I'll be
yeah.
there. I'll be schmoozing and I'll have business cards on me. I'm
Oh, I
very
can't. That's gonna be
approachable.
great. We got to figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we should. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
go. We should
Yeah.
grab a drink before or something, hang out.
What was that
Uh,
bar that we hung out? Remember?
Yeah, the one that's downstairs. I know exactly what you're talking about.
We
The
had a
one
good
that's like
time.
right outside the theater, the next store over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good. I'm trying to get RJ to fly out here for it.
Oh God.
Hopefully he will.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm really big right now. I'm bigger into networking and growing the Rolodex and meeting as many people as possible. And I would love in the future to start funding a lot of films. I want to have a lot of. I like indie films. I like mainstream Hollywood films too. Don't get me wrong. But there's right now, there's a lot of the same. It's just a lot of like cookie cutter. If it's a superhero movie, it gets 200 million, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And so for me, the best way to combat stuff like that is to make a lot of movies. I'm only one person though. So I would love to start being like, "Oh, you need to make a movie? Here's 25 grand. You make the film." You know what I mean? Obviously, if that would put me in a producer role, so I would have a little bit of say over which one it is. But I want to connect with more filmmakers. I love connecting with actors. I talk to actors all the time. Um, but I really want to grow and expand and help the indie community because I believe that there's a lot of beautiful films out there that should be made that also never get seen
Yes,
by anybody.
you're right.
And money's a big part of that, I know, but I think it's great. So I mean, you and I will be at the Boston Film Festival.
We will. Yeah. Yeah.
That'll be cool. We'll talk to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Break business cards.
Right. I will.
I would love to have you on again at some point. We've been talking for a while, but I would love to have you come back and come on and we just talk about like sales, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
It'd be great. And I
Yeah.
had my whole background's in sales. That's why I know everybody and I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to talk to anybody and all this other stuff
Yeah.
because you
I
have to be.
love being. I'm still in sales. I still, working over 30 years, working for a family-owned business. My family's
It-
involved in it.
Outside sales, you have to drive places.
I was in outside sales,
Oh, okay,
but
okay.
now,
Now you're in edutainment.
yeah, well, that, and I'm also the sales manager too, and
Sure.
I continue to do that. I love what I love about sales is it's also about relationships. People buy from people they like, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that I try to do with this career, this new chapter in my life, is to try to be courteous and friendly, and that's another thing. I mean, you go on set, you better be nice to everybody on
That's
set.
interesting you say that. I was inside sales. I wasn't
Yeah.
driving around everywhere, right? I was never nice. I preach that I do the right thing. I'm not a nice guy at all.
I don't know about that. I think you are a nice guy.
Okay, maybe, but I'm saying like
Yeah.
I don't see this is why I want to have a conversation with you. Not about like specifically what you do, but the psychology of
Yeah.
sales. I love that. Cuz to me it's like you can be nice and friendly, but sometimes you got to admit if you're like too nice and too friendly or whatever, now you come off as like slick. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah, right. There's a fine
Right?
line between that.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to I would
Yeah.
rather like I have customers who I have clients now, video clients, right? For my business that I've said I've said publicly like I charge a lot of money and
That's fine.
I don't get paid a lot of money because I'm so nice. I get paid a lot of money because I tell the truth.
That's fine.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like
that's
I tell it
perfect.
like it is.
I'd rather be a straight shooter.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess what I mean, being nice and doing your job and making sure that people are going to pay you for the
Sure,
time
sure,
that
sure.
you're doing.
Well, especially if
So
you're going to charge a lot of money.
you're going to charge a lot of money. Yeah.
If you're asking people for a lot of money, you better be
Yeah.
able to give them answers to what
Yeah.
they're looking for. You
Yeah,
know,
you
that's a
know,
big part of
sure.
sales too.
I mean, my job, we have some of the finest products in the industry, so
Sure.
they are more
Oh,
expensive.
listen to this guy. Finest products.
They're they're a lot more expensive.
What are you going to
than-
say? We have the worst products ever.
Have the
What-
worst products. Yeah. I have
you gonna
crap
do?
for products.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure, sure. That's funny.
So, but
I
when
find that very funny. Go ahead.
I guess when I go visit a client, what I like to do is I don't really speak that much in the beginning. I'm
Same.
trying to figure out what the pain is or what they're trying to fix, and most of the times we have a solution. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we just don't line up. But I think if you could find a solution, just like I said back with getting the agent,
Yep.
I had to figure out
Identify the problem, find the
problem
solution.
the problem was that you didn't consider me as a local hire.
Yep.
Well, I figured out how to explain myself how I am a local hire to you.
Right.
Same thing and that's sales. That's all sales background.
I know.
You know.
Well, a lot of people don't have that though. That's why I think it's interesting to have that. It
Yeah.
probably has helped you a lot in
Oh,
your,
absolutely.
in your
Yeah.
acting
Yeah.
stuff, which is great.
And a little bit trickles into the acting too.
Sure.
Into the performance, I should say.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course.
So
Because you have to be a chameleon
Yeah.
in sales.
absolutely. Yeah, that's true.
Right? Well, because
Yeah.
not everybody when you're selling a product, you have to deal with every type of personality. And you're not you they like you said, people buy from people that they like. So if you are talking to somebody, you have to be able to inquire. You have to have a very inquisitive mindset of trying that's the only investigative almost so
Yeah.
you can identify their problems and everything. Through that, you end up learning a lot about the people that you're dealing with. So now you can communicate with them on a different level than if you just walk in and you're like, I sell coffees and they're the best coffees ever. And people are like, so what? Who are
I
you?
got look how many coffees I have on the
Right,
shelf. Right?
exactly. Yeah, I got all these
Yeah.
coffees here. What the hell is different from your coffee?
Yeah.
But if you go into it from an inquisitive mindset and you're genuine and trying to learn about the people and identify the problem and the solution to the problem, that's the best way to sell anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love it.
Usually, if I always say if you can figure out what the pain is, and you can
Mhm.
come up with a solution, pretty much is gonna you're gonna be you got a good shot of getting the sale done or whatever. And a lot of times, it's not really just about selling your products. It's about buying into who they're going to be doing business with for the next year or 2 years throughout their career, because it's an investment to get involved in whatever it may be. Like I sell professional beauty products. So to get involved with the line, it's not just they're not putting two things on a shelf. They're bringing in a whole entire line. They're bringing in education. That's why I say edutainment. We need to educate the staff. We need to make sure that they understand what they're selling so that their clients can benefit from it.
Sure. And
And
so that they can benefit
yeah,
from it.
so you have to really put the whole project out there and say this is what it's going to be like if you come on board. And it's not easy to have
No, it's
someone
not easy.
switch, but you know,
I
it's
just
I've been
feel
doing it all
like
my life.
being in an industry like sales where it's not that easy, it takes away a lot of the disappointment of not getting a role, if
Oh,
that makes sense,
absolutely.
because you don't take it as personally,
I don't take it personally. No,
right?
no.
So, well, a lot of people do. If you just go into acting, you don't have any sort of background or anything, people get really, they don't like me, whatever. It's like, no, dude, you're just not right for the role.
I know actors that have gotten half a dozen no's, and are not. They really don't even bother anymore. They still consider themselves as actors, but they've gotten no a few times, and it's just they don't audition anymore. They just they hope that someone like you gives them an invite, but that's not going to happen that often, you know.
Well, yeah. Plus, if I give you an invite and you do a crappy job, then I don't
Well,
even,
I'm
you're
not saying
done.
I don't think they're crappy. I think they're really good actors.
No, no, I know.
It's that where's the drive? Where is the
What makes you different? What sets you apart?
yeah.
Do you actually want this? You know?
Mm,
Like that's a huge thing for me. I love what I do for a living. I cannot see myself doing anything else for the rest of the time that I am in working, that I can work. Right? If I'm in a wheelchair somewhere, maybe I'll just complain from my wheelchair when I'm 90. I don't know. But like I absolutely love what I do, and I love the dynamics and the type of people that I work with, and I love making movies. I really do. If you don't show me that you also feel that way, I don't want to do anything with you on my set, and I'm definitely not writing you a check. That's for damn sure.
sure, right.
So that's a big deal to me. I want to know, are you on my level? Are you on, and not like, are you as successful as me? I'm saying mentally, are you on the same page as me? Do you want this as bad as I do?
You want
Even
to
though it's not your project,
no. Are you
you
somebody
know?
you want to collaborate with, right? I mean, that's
Right. I wanna like in a platonic way, I wanna get married to everybody on set. I
yeah,
wanna feel like we're all one homogenous being that's like making this beautiful thing together. And if I don't feel that from someone, you're getting the
right,
fury.
right, yeah.
That's when that's
I
when
hear you.
all of the guns get pointed at
I,
that direction.
it's interesting you say that. You want to be married to the all the people there. I think when we do it, I don't forget if it's an indie or whatever it
Mm.
may be. Um, when I walk off set and I feel there's an actual like a sense of like I don't know if it's sadness, but like I'm gonna miss these guys. You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
then you had something. You did something special.
Sure.
If you're really like I'm gonna miss these. I want to work with these. I want to work with all these. When I say guys, I mean everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's important that you get that feeling. At least it's important for me
Yeah.
that I want to, that I'm like, geez. Oh, especially if you're an actor and if you Frank Castellano in
Cadillac.
Cadillac, I've never played him again. I mean,
Right.
he'll never be played, even though it's Savino LaQuale doing a different character, but he
He's there.
he's there, but it's just he'll always be there in my life,
Mm.
and Uncle Mike, the last one I did, the
Or
Uncle Mike
Richie
was different.
Romano.
Or Richie Romano was completely different than Frank. I mean, I mean, do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Of
you had to come
course.
up to me and say, "I need a little bit of Frank in this one."
So the
So
difference really quick, God, we could talk all day,
I
man.
mean, I don't know.
You and
This
I,
is all.
I love it.
This is
I
good.
have no problem. This is a Sunday. We're hanging out.
We're
This will come
hanging
out
out.
tomorrow. It'll be
Yeah, the
nice, you
Oscars
know?
are tonight. We're actually right
There you
before the Oscars.
go.
We'll be watching that tonight, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, the Oscars. I couldn't
Oh,
care less. That's the last thing on my mind. I hate the Oscars. Oh my
that's why
God.
I brought it up because I
Yeah,
know how you feel about
I
it.
can't stand the Oscars, man. Oh my God. What up? What up? Oh my God, Savino. I could go crazy. If you don't check a certain box, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
no.
All right, it
To me,
doesn't matter.
the awards. I mean, we're going off a thing, but the award ceremony is the SAG. The SAG Awards, I think, are
Sure.
probably because it's voted by their peers. But go ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
The Oscars is a different ballgame.
Oscars. It used to be cool. Ugh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't,
Doesn't
matter.
matter.
We're not going to get into it. Too
We're not
political.
invited, so it doesn't matter.
We're not invited. And you know what? Even if I was invited, I'd go on my show. I'd say, I'd get the hell out of
Yeah,
here.
right.
I'm not doing this crap. Maybe I'd show up for a picture. I don't know. But I'd be like Marlon Brando. I'll send the Indian down to
Oh,
accept my
jeez.
award for me. You know what I mean?
Now you're dating yourself.
I
huh?
know, no, buddy. This is what I'm saying. This is my life.
Yeah.
I have always said if I had like an extra $500 billion, right?
Wow. Yeah,
If
what
I
would
just
you
had
do?
an extra, I would build a studio and I would absolutely sign actors. I would sign every actor in New England, and they would come in and they would have to go to school every day for acting, and we would pump out A and B movies, and it would be just like the 40s. It would be just like the 40s, 50s, 60s of film in LA, except I would do it here. And it would be constant working on sound stages and just doing what we love to do, one after the other. Just keep going and pumping them out all over the place. Like, why not? Tell the story. I think it would be fantastic. And I think that if you go back and you talk about movies that are so good, they're all from back in the day anyway.
Yeah.
The Maltese Falcon and all these
Yeah.
they would grab people and say, "Oh, we need 50 extras here. We have them all under contract, and these guys aren't working today. Bring them in." You would be able, like, actors would come in 5 days a week, 9 to 5, and if they weren't on a set, they'd be studying acting and figuring it out, and it would be a communicative.
That's all that like the
Old Paramount Studios with the
MGM,
gates. But
Paramount.
that is
yeah.
why did we get away
Warner
from
Brothers.
that?
Yeah.
Why did we get away from that?
Union. The unions got involved, right?
This is
SAG,
my point.
SAG got involved in that.
Right.
Yeah,
so
and
you
then-
have SAG, and not that there's
That's
anything
good.
wrong.
No, the
necessarily
SAG's
with
great.
SAG.
Yeah, don't want
But,
anybody.
like,
SAG is awesome.
But there's nothing wrong with I'm in this
Yeah.
to make movies.
Yeah, I hear
I
ya.
want to make movies
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And I would love to drive onto a lot, go to my bungalow,
Oh yeah,
make
it's so
phone
cool.
calls,
Yeah.
and I would say, okay, here, what do we have in production? What do we have in
Oh.
post-production? What about distribution? I'm a
awesome.
producer. This
No.
is my life, and
That'd
I
be-
absolutely love it.
I was in LA twice this year.
Mm.
January, I went down to visit my wife's uncle who lives in Palm Springs. But I said, let's take a trip to LA. So we did the studio tour of Paramount. So much fun. If you're an actor,
Yeah, it's great.
take a studio tour. I mean, it's just so much fun. But
It's
all
fantastic.
those, and the thing that was so cool, and we can get into this a little bit too, is it was The Godfather. I saw The Godfather, where they actually did a lot of the interior scenes of The Godfather,
Mhm.
and also if you've seen The Offer, have you seen The Offer?
Fantastic.
Awesome, right?
That
and-
is the kind of stuff that makes me want to make movies.
Right? I mean, that's it. I mean,
Have you seen Hollywood on Netflix?
yes, that was really good too. Yeah,
And I said, when that came out, by the way, I go, that guy's going to play Superman someday. Now he plays
he plays
Superman.
Superman.
How funny is that?
Yeah, yeah.
I swear, not that I'm like some,
Yeah.
ESP genius, but I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, that kid looks like Clark Kent. That's a great actor right there. And
Yeah.
he graduated
Yeah.
from Juilliard, so he's doing well.
Yeah,
But
yeah, of course.
anyway.
But
Yeah.
being on that studio lot, Nick, it was so like I'm like, wow, look at the people that.
That's
you
what
know,
I want.
Yeah, I mean, you look Paramount. They have the gate, where it's
That's what
like,
I want.
what's the gate? What are they like? I'm ready for my close up, Mr. DeVille. That
Yeah,
whole,
exactly.
You got to grab and it's we came close to having a studio here about 15 years ago.
We still have a studio here. We have
But-
2 studios here.
Well, there was one called it was going to be called Hollywood South, Hollywood North or something like that. We came really close in Plymouth. They
Oh.
were and
Well, they have one in Devon's, New England Studios in Devon's.
okay, and
It's 4 sound stages. They shot
4?
like Defending
Okay.
Jacob there and stuff. And they're
Defender
beautiful.
Jacob. Okay, yep.
They're
yeah.
beautiful.
yeah.
And whatever. And now we have Marina Bay. Marina Bay.
Marina Bay, I know that one.
Quincy.
Yes. And then there was one that we did. I did background in Weymouth, I think it was. It was an old like a military. It was a military area.
Devon's.
Was that the one?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's New
that's
England
the one.
Studios.
Okay.
Yeah, big one.
And also, I did background on Julia, which was an HBO series
Yeah,
of Julia
They
Child.
shot it in Cambridge and stuff.
And that was shot. The actual sets were in an old railroad track I guess like warehouse where they would railroad tracks would come in,
Yeah, sure.
and you know, they had produce. I think it was produce that they had, and I forgot exactly what I was like Foxborough area. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like you can kind of do this. You know, they do this everywhere nowadays.
I always say that the best thing that we got out of COVID
Yeah,
was the ability to, do these Zoom calls and everything else
yeah,
in a mainstream kind of way. So now, if you're a filmmaker out here and you have a meeting with a producer in LA, you hop on a Zoom call.
yeah.
You do your Zoom call, you talk about the stuff, you show presentations, whatever it is, and then they wire you money and you make your movie. Not to mention the fact that Massachusetts has the tax incentive. I'm pretty sure Rhode Island does too
They do 30%, if I'm not
right,
mistaken.
and here it's 25, which is still
Yeah,
good. So Hollywood has essentially just become a place for award shows and for
sitcoms.
production meetings. And
Yeah,
yeah, they have their studios and stuff.
yeah,
And it's cool. I'm not saying don't go do the tours. I mean, it's a great spot there.
yeah.
But there's no reason we couldn't do it out here. And that's what
No,
I
no,
keep
it's not.
preaching,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Don't make LA your final destination for now I've made it. Just make the stuff.
Just make it.
Make the stuff and it'll be good. Ben Affleck and I think it was Matt Damon. But they just shot a movie in Bovis, right across the street from where we shot our film for Cadillac. They shot a movie a
That's
couple of
right.
years
Yeah,
back.
I
They
saw
shot a
that.
movie
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And it's like everything gets shot out here anyway. So what do we,
Well, I
I don't
mean,
know.
New England has a perfect backdrop. I mean, it's gorgeous.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's
So
beautiful. And there's nothing like it,
yeah.
It's cool stuff. I appreciate you coming in. And I gotta have you back. We gotta talk more. We could talk for 6 more hours.
No, I know. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Savino LaQuale. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
SAG
Nick.
actor. Big time. Big time actor,
I hopefully someday, right?
actor extraordinaire. No, I love it, man. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming on. I
I
appreciate it.
loved it. I enjoyed it. This is
Yeah,
great.
it's easy, right? Like you just
My
talk.
first podcast, so
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I do this mostly. Obviously I won't share it with everybody and tell them to share it with their friends and stuff. And I'm gonna have a lot more people on too. But it's for posterity's sake, so that when you're 90 and I'm,
a little younger.
70, we can look back and go, look at those two young handsome
Yeah,
guys talking
yeah.
about stuff. Hopefully, we'll be on a
Yeah,
yacht looking
yeah.
at this
You know,
podcast
you
someday.
mentioned something about the, being film will make you immortal, right? If you're on a film
It's
that,
true.
so the Genie movie that I did, um, it's a Christmas movie. So hopefully, every Christmas it comes out. And I don't, maybe my niece and her kids someday or her kids' kids will be like, "Hey, let's watch this Christmas movie." And here's my uncle. He's playing the fireman for 30 seconds, but it's immortality, being in
It
film.
is.
So I think that's something that's something that we all, if you're doing this, whatever, i- i- that's important. That's important to me a little bit too. So
Yeah.
having a little slice of immortality.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just a hint of an impact,
yeah,
on the
yeah.
world.
It's fun though.
It is fun.
It's
It's a
just
great time,
yeah.
and this was a great time. Thank you for coming in. I
My
appreciate you.
pleasure. My
We'll
pleasure.
see you next time. We'll see you next week. Subscribe. My God, subscribe to the channel for Christ's sake,
Please do.
please. Yeah, please.